three things. One, for letting me come today. Second, for all the help. As I look through this room, a lot of you have been incredibly helpful and kind to me as I've begun this journey of going around 95 counties, and I very much appreciate the time you've given me. And third, I want to thank you for what you're doing. More than anybody else who's running for governor, I can appreciate the shoes that you sit in, and the fact that everybody expects you to solve their problems. And whether their problem is getting a pothole fixed, or getting a job for their nephew, or finding a room in your budget for a community agency, I can identify and understand where you're coming from. One quick story I was thinking about when I was actually outside talking to Mayor Perky and Mayor Ragsdale, and I was thinking walking, because Mayor Ragsdale and I work on the same hall. We work 500 feet away from each other and see each other a lot. And my very first month in office, my predecessor had been in office for 16 years. Okay? And you know what it's like. Everybody who's ever been told no by the previous administration comes to see, when there's a new guy in town, they come to see that person thinking, well, I've been told no forever, surely this is my turn. And my first month in office, I was just bombarded with phone calls and emails and people coming by saying, I need this, I need that, I need this. And when you're, when you couldn't take care of, when you couldn't say yes to everything right away, you immediately start getting, well, you're just like the old guy. And you start getting beat up. And it was about a month into it, and my office backs up to our reception area, and we have a wonderful receptionist who's been working there for a long time. Nicest, perfect receptionist, because she's the nicest person ever, and it's hard for people to be mad when she's there. And I hear her saying, somebody come and saying, I want to see the mayor right now. And I hear her saying, I'm sorry, the mayor's in a meeting. And I said, no, I have to see the mayor right now. I'm sorry, sir, but he's in a meeting. I really wasn't in a meeting, but I could hear this out the back door. And finally, the guy's just getting more and more belligerent. Finally, he literally yells at this really, really nice lady, yells at her and says, I want to see the mayor right now, and I won't see anyone lower than the mayor. And I couldn't help it. I leaned around and said, there is no one lower than the mayor. And you all understand that because you understand this, that your job is about solving problems, right? At the end of the day, that's what you have to do. And I can identify more than anybody else that you have a federal government that tells the states what to do, and state and federal government that tell you what to do, and nobody ever sends the money to help with those things. In the meantime, you have to you don't have the luxury of just voting on a budget, right? You have to do the hard work to prepare it. You have to propose it and bring it to commission. You have to defend it before commission. Then you have to live with it. And that's a totally different world than folks who just get to vote yes or no. Because you actually are responsible for providing those services. Again, I understand the world you've been in. Let me say this, I think you all understand this better than anyone. Our next governor is going to have the hardest time to be governor of anyone in recent memory. You all understand the budget situation real well. It's similar to the budget you're wrestling with. But the reason I decided to run, quite frankly, is I think it's really important that we have someone with executive experience in a public job and in a private job to be our governor. I know beyond a doubt this, that my years in business really helped prepare me to be mayor. I'm convinced of that so many things I learned, that it's the same thing. You have revenues and you have expenses, just like you do in business. It's about hiring great people to work with you. And it's about making really hard choices. And that's what the next governor is going to have to do, just like we're doing in our jobs now. But I also know this, as much as business prepared me to be a mayor, I think being mayor is great preparation for being a governor. Because if you think about it, again, it's the exact same job. It's about working hard and making tough choices, prepare budgets. It's about serving people and providing a great service for the lowest tax rate possible. And it's about, at the end of the day, solving people's problems. I don't make a whole lot of promises running for governor because these are tough times. But I do make a few. One of those that I will make to you all is this. We will not balance the state's budget on your back. I've been there. When I first came in, the state was keeping the state shared sales tax revenue. I understand what that does to a budget. We won't do that. And here's why. I'm not just saying that because I'd love to have your help. I'm saying that for a very fundamental belief I have, and that's this. Of all the forms of government, federal, state, and local, I'm convinced, beyond a shadow of doubt, that local government is the best form of government because it's closest to people. The problem, people ask me all the time, when you're doing what I'm doing, you're traveling, you're speaking everywhere, people ask me, well, what are you concerned about for the country? Here's the thing I'm the most concerned about. If you take the whole government share, if it's a pie, the federal government share of that just keeps growing and growing of government because they can borrow money and don't have to pay it back anytime soon. We'd have to pay it back eventually because they can print money. They don't have to balance their budget, so their budgets keep growing. Meanwhile, state and particularly local governments are making those hard choices. The net result is our share of the pie, the local government share, is getting small because we're having to make those hard choices to balance the budget, and I understand that. That's a concern for me. It bothers me when you have Washington and sometimes Nashville, quite frankly, telling local governments what they should do because I'm convinced that there's nobody that's closer to people than we are. If you or we, if we waste $20,000, eventually somebody's going to find it, right? I mean, it's going to happen. If there's something that's going on, somebody's going to find that. In state government, they won't find $20,000 for a long time. And the federal government has wasted $20 million since I started this sentence. Okay? I understand how responsible you have to be in your job, and I promise I will do everything to help you do that. End of the day, there won't be a governor who can identify more with mayors than I have. I guess our current governor's been a mayor, so he understands that. But I've lived through some really tough times with you all, and I know there's harder times coming. And I promise we won't make you pay the price for that. A couple other things that I'll promise this. When I started the campaign, I started talking about three things: jobs, education, and state budget. Here's what I think about jobs. People ask me all the time, well, how do you feel about the current governor and how he's done on economic development? Quite frankly, I think their team has done a great job in a lot of things. They've hit a lot of home runs. But going forward, we're going to have to hit a lot of singles and doubles, and that means working with local partners, working with local elected officials, local economic development people, regional business leaders to have a specific strategy. And I promise our economic strategy will be built around a regional approach, and you will be at the center of that. Number two, we all know that education, you've heard all the statistics, that we're 42nd or 43rd out of the 50 states. We're making some great headway. The things that are happening, quite frankly, that happened last week in Nashville, I think are great steps forward. But I also am committed to making certain that we work with people at local levels to make certain that what we're talking about works in real life. Again, one of the things you learn as mayor is it's great to talk about this proposal or that, but we find out what works in real life, and I promise you that we will do that. The last thing comes down to budget. You all know and understand the difficulty of the budget situation in the state. You all understand what that's like on your end as well. What I promise is this. I've learned a lot being mayor. Like I said, I felt like my business experience really helped me, but as mayor, I've learned the hard choices you have to make. One of the things that people don't understand before they go into a public job is why their particular issue can't get fully funded. Bill, sidewalks are so important. Why can't you fully fund what we want there? Bill, our firefighters and police officers need to be paid more. Our school kids. I understand the litany of needs that people bring to you, and they're all good needs, right? Not all, but most of them are good needs. I understand that what your job is about is deciding between competing but valid constituencies. I will make those hard choices with you at the state level. I think the thing that frustrates people the most right now about what's going on in the country is this. People ask me, as a Republican, why aren't you really excited about the message that the country sent in Massachusetts last week? So actually, I am, but it wasn't that long ago that the Republicans were getting their message handed to them. And here's what I think the real message is. Washington, Nashville, everywhere, as families, we're making really hard choices. Counties, we're making really hard choices. Those of us in local government, we want to see you making those same hard choices before you go spending our money. We want to make certain that you're listening to us. So I look forward to working with you. I can promise you that when I'm looking for answers, I'm going to go to local elected officials because I see what sort of difference it makes. And I promise that there will never be a governor that you've had a better working relationship with on a one-to-one basis. And again, let me just end by where I started. As I look around this room, I'm really grateful for all the help that so many people in this room have given me already. I look forward to continuing to work with you through the campaign, and more importantly, as governor, because, again, it comes back to the very best form of government there is local government, and you guys are at the heart of that. So thank you very much for the chance to be here, and I hope I didn't keep you from your coffee too long.